Hello and welcome to WJTS in.form, a very special edition of in.form, as we're going to talk about flag etiquette and how to fly the United States flag. Joining me in the studio is Steve Lindauer. Steve is the Public Affairs Officer
Yes,
for the Southern Indiana Leathernecks.
Correct.
All right,
Yes.
Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
We've talked off the camera. We finally are going to do a show about etiquette for the flag, and I think it's a good time just to remind people how to take care of the flag.
Yeah.
Let's start off a little history of the flag.
Okay. All right. Well, this first flag was authorized by Congress June 14th, 1777, and throughout history, there's been multiple kinds of flags. There've been, the very first ones didn't look anything like the ones they do today. At one point, we had actually, I think when George Washington had one, the one that he fought under, as he fought, I think it was at Trenton. It was it actually had the British Union Jack, and where the field is now, we call that the blue section of our flag is called the Union, or the blue field, and that actually had the Union Jack on there. So that was from our kind of the British roots, if you will. And then they progressed. At one point, you still see some people flying it nowadays. It's a yellow flag with a snake on it. It says, "Don't tread on me." That was a variation, of course. And prior to about 1960, I believe, there were only 48 stars in the field. So eventually it became to 50 stars. So that's progressed along through over the years. And incidentally, in doing research for this, I found out something I didn't know, was that any of those flags are serviceable. It's according to the code. You can actually fly any of those flags as long as they are an official American flag. As long as they're serviceable and they're not ratty and dirty and soiled. They're legally, if I can use that term, to fly.
Okay, probably the one that people think of the most is the Dolly Madison flag with the 13 stars in
Right.
the circle.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
And you're probably not old enough to remember this, but in 1976, there was the 200 year of the American Revolution. So in 1776, during that flag guard, they had, I forget exactly the name of the flag right now, it escapes me, but it was the Dolly Madison flag with a 7-6 in there for, designated that as the 200-year flag. So that flag was flown for a while. That happened to be at the time when I was in the military myself, and I can remember seeing that a lot of different places. So that was out there sometime.
And the flag is an important part of America.
It is. The American flag, as I suppose any country's flag, but in our country, that flag represents the entire country. It's what we would call an actual living symbol. It represents the people, our ethos, our way of life, our freedoms that we have. What makes America different from other countries. There's been politicians talked recently about what makes America exceptional, and well, they're all exceptional. Well, not the way we're looking at it. It's not to say that every country or every people of every other country should have pride in their country and their flag. With us, it's the freedom and it's the history that we go through, where we got people from all over the world that make up the people of the United States. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about exceptionalism in this country.
Okay, and we do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America. I believe, I truly hope we still do those in schools today. We were brought up with that. I mean, it was just become second nature. All the patriotic songs and everything that I don't know, you don't hear them all that much anymore, but outside of the Star Spangled Banner and things. I happened to be at St. Joe's Church the other week when we had the Veterans Day thing, and they sang America the Beautiful and all those. I hadn't heard those in a lot of years, and so it was inspiring to hear those again. It's kind of neat. So.
Now let's talk about the flag in that the code.
Yep.
There is a code written on how to take care of the flag, how to display it?
That is. It's actually called Title IV, Chapter 1 of the U.S. Code. It should be noted that this code is simply a guideline for proper flag etiquette. There is no laws that provide penalties for the violations of its provisions. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how you look at it, if people want to burn our flag, according to the First Amendment, they've got a right to do that. Those of us who've sworn to protect and defend the Constitution, as much as it hurts, you have to allow those people that want to desecrate that flag, they have their First Amendment rights to do that. That's not to say that they won't be chastised, and I use that term in any way you want to interpret it, but we will defend their right to do that. So, yeah, it's basically a uniform guide and set of rules is what it is. If you talk to 20 or 30 different veterans, you may have 20 or 30 different variations of how that's interpreted. The American Legion is who I've gotten most of my information from. They do an excellent job. They've provided publications. I've got a CD that we talk about. There's actually a booklet. May I show that?
Yes.
Let's Be Right on Flag Etiquette. If Jesse, if you can get in on that tight. This booklet gives a good, concise, I guess, an outline of everything that we would need to do if you're trying to, maintain flag etiquette. When to fly it, how to fly it, when to get rid of it, and how you do that. So there's just a lot of provisions in here that talk about that.
And we'll talk about that a little bit in this show. But this is available at the American Legion.
It is yes. There's a number of them actually. I was going to talk about it a little bit later in the show, but there's a you can go to. I went on the internet actually and looked at a bunch of. First of all, you can go to the Marine Corps League, our Facebook page, and our website is www.sildmarines.com, and there's a link, and we will, that'd be a quick way to do it. I also went into www.ushistory.org/Betsy/more display only HTM. So you can go on the internet. I mean, if you don't pick all that up, most of us are, we can navigate through the internet pretty easily and find a lot of the good information on there.
All right. Well, let's talk about the flag. Let's start off with the parts of the flag.
Yep.
And we have a flag here that we'll go through the parts. Hopefully everybody out there is aware of the flag. You have the 13 stripes, the red and white, and then the blue field with the stars, 50 stars. First of all, what are the 13 stripes and what do they stand for?
Well, as we were all brought up through our educational process, those 13 stripes, red and white alternating stripes, those represent the 13 original colonies. And of course, the stars are the 50 states. And we talked a little bit ago earlier that originally there were 48. And just in my lifetime, well before your time, Bill, it was Alaska and Hawaii were introduced or accepted into the United States as well. So those are just in my lifetime. Those were added to. I was a small child, but they were added to the American flag. So I'm not sure we've got plans to add any more, but right now that's what they're made of. Yep.
Steve, tell me about the different sizes of the flags. You see a lot. You see little lapel pins. You see great big, huge flags.
Right.
Is there a designated size?
They're really. I did a little. What I could research on this. You basically got some basic. Again, I'm not sure that the code really specifies it. It does specify the size of the field and the stars and the stripes in variation to the overall size of the flag. So if the flag is a 3x5, there's a designated size for the blue field to be. So you don't have all that out of proportion. So that there is a code for it. There's part of it in the code. As far as the sizes themselves, of course you've got the ones we have on our shoulders. You see a lot of people will have the pins. Those are they are what they are. As far as a regulation size, you've got 2x3, 3x5, 4x6, 5x8s. And then there's, when I was in the military, we had, I was actually stationed in Washington, D.C. at one of the, I was actually at NSA, and we had a flag like we all see up here at Jasper Engine. Beautiful, beautiful flag. It's inspiring every day. I live out Division Road, so it's kind of cool to see that in the mornings when I go through there. But when you try to take that puppy down, that's what we would call, back then, we called it the holiday flag. And we would have 4 Marines taking that thing down. And you had to sometimes, I would say, deviate from the code just in order to keep it from hitting the ground. And, of course, this is all done in a ceremonial kind of fashion. You're giving the hand salute and all that. That's coming down. But there were literally times when we would see the storm coming up or wind coming up, and we'd scramble going out there to take that flag down because that could literally tear the flagpole down. And I more than once saw 4 Marines get jerked off the ground by that flag because it acted like a big sail. So you try to roll it up as tight as you can and run for the building, and we'd lay it out in a big auditorium. But then when you got the storm flag, and I think they call that the all-weather flag, that's typically a smaller one. That might be like a 4x8 or something like that. 3x5. Okay, a storm flag is 3x5, and with that one, that is made to be able to weather the storm. So if the wind beats it up there, it's out there, and we can still fly the flag in bad weather.
I think a 3x5 is probably the most common flag size.
Probably
that
is. I think that's what I think that's what this one is here this morning. That we're gonna be showing how to fold later on.
Okay. Now, according to the code, when can you fly the flag, and when shouldn't you fly the flag?
Okay. I guess I'll start with when you should. You can fly the flag 24 hours a day, providing you have a light on the flag that will at least, if you have some kind of dim light, can't see what the flag is, that's not really appropriate. The light is, I forget exactly the wording, but the light has to be able to show on that flag so that it is recognizable as a flag. So I can honestly say I've got a flag at my house and I've got a light on it all the time, so I keep mine out there all the time. And I'll be gone for a couple of days, come back, oh darn, my light's burned out. How long has this been on? And I actually had one of my Marine Corps League buddies hit me up one day, come back, Lindauer, your light's out on your flag, so I had to go and fix that. So we kind of keep on each other's toes with that. What was the other question?
When shouldn't you fly it?
When shouldn't you fly the flag? I don't know that there isn't a time when you shouldn't. If the weather's out there, again, we talked about the smaller flag. I take that back. There is a time you shouldn't, and that is when it's no longer serviceable. Okay. So if that flag is, and I've seen them, I travel for a living in my regular job, and I cringe sometimes because you'll see, and it's typically people's homes, and they just simply haven't gone out and changed them, and you'll see maybe the outside embroidered portion, that's where the flag's attached, and there'll be 3 or 4 strands of the stripes there, and very little of the blue field. It's time, that's time. So they should never get into that condition. On the other hand, we don't want to discourage people from flying the flag, but if you're going to take that responsibility, that commitment to fly the flag, for Christ's sake, do it with respect. And that's the whole thing.
Probably respect is the whole thing with the flag.
Dignity and respect is the whole thing. Common sense is really the order of the day here, for that. If it's just ratty and dirty and burned, then that needs to be disposed of properly, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Sometimes there's variations of that. For instance, during 9/11, that flag took a beating, and I think that flag, they actually, even like the flag that was flown over Fort McHenry, they've still got that in Smithsonian. So those kind of historical things are kept, but they are, again, they're displayed and with respect and dignity that they deserve. But for those of us who are flying a flag in our homes or in any the courthouse or whatever building, somebody is, and we do a good job around here for the most part, but they need to be disposed of properly.
Okay. And you're in the military, so it's different than me, a citizen. When do you salute the flag? I obviously don't salute the flag because I'm a citizen, but I hold my hand over my heart.
Right.
However, like if you're walking to the post office and the flag is flying and you're in uniform, you salute?
Not necessarily. Okay. I don't know that, Dave, you got anything to add to that? I don't believe if I'm strolling down the street, not necessarily have to salute that flag. Now, when you're entering a ship, back and forth, those of us that were in the Marines or in the Navy, that there's a protocol for that. It's usually like a color guard, an official color guard is for the code, the flag code. It basically says if you are in uniform, in a military uniform, or for that matter, if you're a police officer, if you are a fireman, hopefully you've learned how to render a proper hand salute. Most of those guys and gals are former military. But yeah, with your uniform, you render a hand salute. If you are a civilian or in civilian clothes, or if you're in a past military in civilian clothes, you put your hand, and you're not covered. In Marine Corps, that means you don't have a hat on. You put your right hand over your heart. Okay,
now here's a parade. There's a color guard, but throughout the parade, the Knights of Columbus have a great big flag that they bring through. Somebody may have a float that's got a flag on it.
Right.
When do you salute or hold your hand over the heart? Every time the flag comes through?
Great question. Short answer, no. not that would be disrespectful if you did, but you'd be jumping down like a yo-yo saluting and all day long, especially at the Strassenfest. You know, we have 100 and some floats and maybe more than that, I don't know, but you know, you'd be doing that all day. So basically it's what we would call the official color guard, and the official color guard typically leads a parade. Sometimes it might be the police, the Indiana State Police, some veterans group. We've been honored to lead most of the parades around here in the Strassenfest and all that. Typically made up of a the flag bearer. You've got your the person carrying the American flag, and then the unit flag, in our case, the Southern Indiana Leathernecks, the Marine flag, and then we're usually flanked either by guards. Flag guards is what they're called. Most units will have a rifle of some sort. We have swords or rifles. We use both, one or the other. And they will usually lead the parade, and that would be appropriate to render a salute or show respect to the flag there. Once you go down through all the floats, and there's flags everywhere, and there's people got a lot of little kids have got flags and all that. Not necessarily for that, but there might be more than one color guard in that parade, and it's totally appropriate. So that if you've got the American Legion, the VFW, the Southern Indiana Leathernecks, and you've got maybe some of the other Legionnaires from around the county and VFW posts throughout the county, totally appropriate if you want to do that. But for sure, at least that first color guard that comes through.
And if you're a citizen, you should stand and hold
you
your hand
stand,
over your
yeah.
heart. Okay.
You know,
so respect again.
Correct. And a little bit to that, over the last, we've been, the Marine Corps League, we started the local Marine Corps League about 18 years ago. So we've just been through a ton of parades. And not to slam any one group, but there's, unfortunately, we've been in some of the parades when we've seen police officers that did not salute. Many times, more often than not, they do. But those guys and gals, those should be the ones that are really setting the example for the rest of the people. Now, there's reasons for that too, or there's variations of that. If you're in a high traffic area and they're directing traffic, that's their primary duty. Different story altogether. That's their primary function is to protect and to serve, protect people from traffic or whatever. But if they're not, if they're just sitting there watching, they should be rendering a hand salute. At least for the initial official color guard. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, at times the flag is flown at half-mast.
Correct.
Who orders that? How is that authorized?
Okay.
Who authorizes
all right. That is typically authorized by the President of the United States, and that will normally be maybe the death of some government official. Whatever the president decides at that point in time. It can also be done for the governor of a state. They will. I'm not sure if they actually get permission, but they will order the flying of half-mast, the flag down. And again, there's a ceremony for that. If any of you have ever been to one of our Memorial Day celebrations, or not really celebrations, Memorial Day service around the courthouse, there's a proper procedure for doing that. You know, the flag goes all the way up first, and then it comes back down to half staff. And I think it stays that way till noon, and at which point in time it goes back all the way to the top again. So
it should go all the way to the top first and then down.
Yeah, you don't start at half mast and take it down. It goes all the way back up first. Okay. It's there for a little bit, and then it comes back down again, ceremoniously brought down.
And when you see the flag flown with other flags, it should always be at the highest.
In this country, it's at the highest point. Probably the best thing people have seen is Springs Valley Bank there on 15th Street here in Jasper. I think they've done it a little bit differently now, but they would always have the American flag up there in the front of the building, and then up on top there would be flags of different countries, different countries of the world. So the American flag is always prominently displayed. And the other question a lot of people have, if I might just, you didn't ask it, but I'll just kind of delve into it, is how is that flag displayed? Is there a wrong way to display the flag? And there is. So as a standard rule of thumb, it's the flag's own right. So the field of blue will always be at the flag's own right. So not necessarily the way you and I are looking at it, at hanging it on the wall, but if consider yourself the flag, and the blue field would be on the right side. So that's typically how that's displayed. Same thing in the color guard. The American flag will always be on the right side, the flag's own right.
Okay.
So,
and next to a podium. Again,
next to a podium, the flag would be on the flag's own right. So if you're the audience facing the podium, it looks like it's on the left side of the speaker.
But it's on the flag's own right.
It's on the flag's own right, correct.
Like stage right or something.
Stage right, yeah, right, exactly.
We're going to go and we're going to bring in Dave Englert.
Yes.
And we will have him and you, and I'll hold the middle. We're going to fold a flag to show people how to properly fold a flag. You shouldn't just take it down. But something to note is the flag should never touch the ground. And you should do whatever measure it takes to keep the flag from touching the ground.
That is correct. I'm glad you brought that up too, because as I was doing that research, there was some of this. One of the questions was, historically, if the flag ever touches the ground, now you have to destroy it. No, you don't. It's just you try to do your best to keep it from getting soiled. So you try not to let it touch the deck. In Marine Corps and Navy, it's called the deck or the floor or the ground. Does not touch the ground. Doesn't touch the water or anything like that. If it does, you simply make sure it's clean. Again, so that next time you display it, it's done in a very respectful, honorable way.
Can you wash your flag?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can dry clean it. You can wash it. You bet.
All right.
Sure can.
Just keep it.
You don't want to put a lot of bleach in there because
okay.
it's still.
Yeah. But you obviously, it's just got to stay in great shape.
Yeah,
and if it starts to get torn,
just like anything else, you just keep it serviceable. I've had mine. We had one of these double-sided ones that was very, very thick, and it got a little bit ratty, and we took it down, and we actually got it sewed and trimmed up a little bit on the end because it had been up there flapping. But so yeah, you can do whatever it takes as long as you keep that thing, a respectful and dignified display.
Before we go and fold the flag and show the proper folding of that, why is the flag on your shoulder flown in what I would consider reverse? It looks reversed.
It looks reversed too. That's it is reversed, but that's because the blue field will always lead the flag going as you're moving forward. That blue field will always be facing towards the front. So that just like if you see a horseman or somebody carrying the flag, we see a lot of the Civil War movies and things like that. You don't see the flag backward. You don't see the stripes going forward. You see the blue field going forward.
And so as you go into battle, that flag should be flying forward.
Sir.
All right, thank you very much. Now we're gonna bring in Dave Englert, and we are going to fold the flag, show people the proper way to fold the flag. At this point, we will have Dave Englert and Steve Lindauer show us how to properly fold a flag.
Let me get my tie up. The goal here is to make the red invisible. We start by folding the flag in half with the red stripes up, and just a little trick here is to leave your inside seam in just about a quarter to half an inch, and that'll help you. I've heard that what this is called is, as you're folding this, what you're doing is you're allowing the sunset of red to disappear into the twilight of the stars. So what we'll do, and Steve, we may actually have this wrong. I believe we should be like that right now. Yes.
Okay.
Normally your label will end up, if you look at the label on that end, your label will end up at this point.
Okay. Right.
And then, depending on the size of the flag, if you're holding a Paul flag, which is a 5 by 9.5 foot flag that's used on coffins, you'll start out with a flat fold. This is a 4 by 6 flag, so in order to make it work out right, you have to start with a fold of about 2 to 3 inches, and that's just so you end up right. From this point, we start making triangular folds. This is a nylon flag. It's a little bit more difficult to fold than a cotton flag because it likes to shift around on you. Cotton flags are much easier to fold. But as we go along, we tuck, we fold, we straighten out. Somebody a little bit more practice at this and with a little bit less arthritis in their hands can probably flip this over a lot faster than I can. And again, it's not a speed contest. I've heard at least 30 different variations of things that people supposedly say as they're folding a flag. There's one that talks about the significance of each of the 13 folds, which if you're doing this right, you will end up with 13 folds. And
I might point out that I have not found anything in the flag code that talks about that, but there's a lot of things that people have come up with for what those 13 folds signify. We end up with no red showing, hopefully. There we go. Keep it nice and tight. And presenting the flag.
Now, at a military funeral, person folding the flag will continue to tuck this, and when it's time, the officer, normally an officer, will be present to present the flag to the family of the deceased. There we go. And we'll make Steve the presenter of the flag. Steve will salute the flag. He'll receive the flag as such, and then the folder of the flag will return the salute and step away.
As we continue with this edition of WJTS in.form about flag etiquette, Steve, when is the proper time to salute the flag?
Okay, probably the most obvious reason would be when you would hear the national anthem. So if you're in uniform and you're covered, you would salute the flag at that point in time. Another time might be any time the flag is being raised or lowered, so at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. And then the third time would be any time that flag would be in motion. For instance, we talked a while ago about during parades when the official color guard is moving through. At that time, you would render a hand salute until it was within a reasonable amount of time when it's past you, and then you would cut away. Okay,
now that would be for military, and if you're a citizen, really it's the same thing.
Same thing with citizen, you just simply hold your hand over your heart. It's the only thing, only difference. Yep.
Now, proper disposal of the flag. What do you do if your flag is tattered and torn? You take it down, you fold it properly as best you can.
Correct, as best you can, and turn it into any one of the veterans organizations. The VFW does this, the Legion. We typically on Flag Day, June 7th, is Flag Day, and typically here in Du Bois County we go out to the 4-H fairgrounds and we take hundreds of flags, and there's an actual ceremony, and that's a flag disposal ceremony. The flags are burned there, but again, that's a respectful way. There's a ceremony that goes through, and so they are disposed of in a very dignified and respectful manner, not at all unlike a funeral ceremony type thing. So that's how those are disposed of. Now, if you don't know how to get a hold of them, you can go to our website, drop them off any of the VFW, the Legion, any of them, and they will hold them into a place until June 7th. And sometimes they actually if they get a lot of them, they might do it, sometime other than just Flag Day.
And you should not throw it away.
No, we don't want to see them in a trash bag somewhere. We don't want to see them in a landfill. Just dispose of them properly with dignity.
Respect and dignity,
yes,
and turn it into the American Legion, the VFW, or any veterans organization. Anything that you'd like to add?
Other than we really appreciate the opportunity to give this opportunity to be able to talk to people a little bit about it. So many people don't know, and we do try to go by the flag code. If I've made any mistakes on here, I'm always open to them. But we hope people will try to display their flags in a dignified manner, and we encourage them to do so.
Okay, it really probably comes down to two words: just respect and dignity.
Yes, sir.
That is how you fly the flag. That is how you treat the flag.
Yes, sir.
Steve Lindauer, thank you very much.
Thank you.
He is the Public Affairs Officer for the Southern Indiana Leathernecks, and once a Marine, always a Marine.
Hoorah.
Thank you for watching WJTS in.form. We are local people watching local people.